The phone rang just as Daniel Mercer set his coffee down, the sound sharp enough to slice through the quiet of his apartment. Evening light stretched across the floor, long and tired, like it had worked all day and wanted to leave. Daniel almost didn't answer. Unknown numbers usually meant spam, sales, or problems that belonged to someone else. That something in his chest tightened. A small warning he didn't understand yet. "Mr. Mercer?" a woman asked when he picked up. Her voice was calm, smooth, trained to carry bad news without sounding cruel. "My name is Elena Ruiz. I'm the wedding planner for your sister's ceremony." Daniel straightened. "Is something wrong?" There was a pause. Not long, but careful. The kind people take when they are choosing words that will hurt less, even though they know they still will. "I'm calling to inform you that your invitation has been cancelled," she said. "Your family contacted us earlier today and asked that your name be removed from the guest list." Daniel laughed once, a short sound that came out before he could stop it. "That can't be right," he said. "I'm her brother." "I understand," Elena replied, softer now. "I was surprised as well." Daniel walked to the window, staring out at the street below. Cars moved slowly through traffic. People lived their lives, unaware that something had just cracked open. Inside him, "There has to be a mistake," he said. "I paid for half the wedding. $60,000. You have the records." "Yes," Elena said. "That's actually the second reason for my call." The silence stretched. Daniel stopped breathing without realizing it. "The funds have already been used," she continued. "Your family has instructed us not to issue a refund." The words landed one by one, heavy and wrong. Daniel pressed his hand against the glass. "They cancelled my invite," he said slowly, "and kept my money." "I'm very sorry," Elena said. "They told us it was a private family matter." A family matter. Daniel ended the call without remembering how. The phone stayed in his hand, dark and useless. For a long moment he didn't move. He didn't shout. He didn't throw anything. He just stood there, watching his reflection in the window like it belonged to someone else. He thought of Claire, his younger sister, standing in his kitchen months ago with wedding magazines spread across the table. He remembered how excited she had been, how nervous. He remembered how she said, "I don't know what I'd do without you," and how easily those words had opened his wallet. He remembered their parents nodding, relieved, grateful. Daniel had always been the reliable one, the fixer, the backup plan. Now he was uninvited. Daniel sank into a chair. His mind raced forward and backward at the same time. He replayed the moment he sent the money. He replayed every message from Claire, every polite thank you that now felt thin. He tried to understand what had changed. Had he said something wrong? Had he offended someone? Or had he never truly been wanted there at all? His phone buzzed. A message from his mother. "We'll talk later. Please don't make this harder than it already is." That was it. No explanation. No apology. Just a warning. Daniel felt heat rise in his chest, sharp and steady. He stood and paced the room. $60,000 wasn't just money. It was years of work, long nights, missed vacations, saying no to things he wanted, so others could have, what they needed. And now it had bought him silence and a closed door. He called his father. No answer. He called Claire, straight to voicemail. The apartment felt smaller with every step. Memories filled the space. Childhood dinners, holidays, promises that family always came first. Daniel realized those promises had rules. They applied when he gave, not when he asked. His phone buzzed again. Another message, this time from Claire. This is complicated. Please don't cause a scene. Cause a scene. Daniel let out a slow breath. He imagined the wedding day, the music, the speeches, the smiles. He imagined everyone pretending he didn't exist while standing on floors he had paid for, eating food he had bought. The thought made his stomach turn. He sat back down and opened his laptop. Not to work, not to distract himself. He opened old emails, bank records, contracts. The calm returned, thin but useful. Daniel had learned long ago that anger without focus burned itself out. Anger with direction lasted. He found the transfer confirmation. The message from Claire saying, "We'll make it right." The reply from his father thanking him for saving the day. None of it mentioned conditions, but all of it told a story. A story of trust. A story of expectation. Outside, the sky darkened. Daniel didn't turn on the lights. He sat in the half-shadow, reading, thinking, connecting pieces. The hurt stayed, but something else grew beside it. Clarity. This wasn't a mistake. It was a choice. His family had chosen comfort over honesty, appearances over fairness. They had decided he was easier to remove than to explain. Daniel closed the laptop and leaned back. His reflection stared at him from the black screen. He looked tired, older than he had that morning, but there was something steady in his eyes now. He didn't know yet what he would do. He only knew one thing for certain. They had taken something from him, and he would not pretend it was nothing. Daniel did not sleep that night. He lay on his bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the hum of the city and the steady beat of his own thoughts. Anger came in waves, not loud, not wild, but deep and sharp. It pressed on his chest and made every breath feel heavy. He kept seeing the same image. A wedding table sat with fine plates, paid for by his money, surrounded by people who had decided he did not belong. By morning, his sadness turned into focus. He showered, dressed, and went to work like nothing had happened. He answered emails. He sat in meetings. He smiled when needed, but inside his mind never stopped. Every word from the night before replayed itself, and each time it sounded worse. During lunch, he finally called his parents again. His mother answered this time. Her voice was tired, already defensive. "Daniel, please," she said before he could speak. "This is not the time." "When is the time?" he asked. His voice stayed calm, which surprised him. "When I find out I'm not invited by a stranger," she sighed. "You don't understand the pressure Claire is under." "I understand money," Daniel said. "And trust." His father took the phone. "Son, this is being blown out of proportion," he said. "You're not being pushed out. It's just complicated." Daniel waited. No explanation came. "So you keep my money," Daniel said, "and remove me from the wedding." There was a pause. Then his father said, "It's already done." The call ended with no answers, only distance. Daniel stared at his phone after, realizing something painful. They did not think they were wrong. In their minds, this was a small sacrifice he was supposed to accept. Like always, that thought cut deeper than the loss itself. That evening, Daniel sat alone in his apartment with papers spread across the table. Bank statements, emails, messages. He wasn't angry anymore. He was careful. He read everything slowly, seeing patterns he had ignored before. He saw how often he helped, how rarely he was thanked in words that mattered. He saw how easily his role had been decided for him. Claire finally called near midnight. Her voice was sharp, tired, full of stress. "You're making this worse," she said. "I didn't do anything," Daniel replied. "You could just let this go," she said. "The wedding is not about you." "I know," Daniel said. "That's clear now." She went quiet. Then she said, "Mark's family doesn't want drama. They asked questions. It was easier this way." Easier. The word sat heavy between them. "So I was the problem," Daniel said. "No," Claire said quickly. "You're just strong. You'll be fine." That was the moment something shifted inside him. He understood her fully then. In her mind, his strength meant he didn't need fairness. It meant he could be hurt without breaking. It meant she could take and still feel justified. After the call, Daniel stood by the window again, watching the city lights flicker. His hands shook slightly, not from fear, but from control. He knew what he could do. He knew the power he held. A call to the venue could cause panic. A legal notice could freeze everything. A single honest message to Mark's family could crack the perfect image they were protecting. Each option felt close, almost comforting, but each came with a cost. Daniel pictured his parents' faces if the wedding fell apart. He pictured Claire crying, not from guilt, but from anger. He pictured himself standing alone afterward, labeled difficult, unforgiving, cold. The thought bothered him more than he wanted to admit. He sat down and wrote a list. Not plans, but truths. The first was simple. What happened was wrong. The second was harder. They would do it again if he let them. The third scared him most. Revenge would feel good, but only for a moment. Still, the desire grew. Not to hurt them, but to be seen. To be acknowledged. To make them feel the weight he was carrying. Days passed, each one tightening the pressure. His parents stopped calling. Claire sent short messages asking him to be reasonable. Daniel felt cut out already, like the decision had been made long before the invitation was cancelled. He met with a lawyer quietly, not out of anger, but curiosity. The lawyer listened, nodded, explained options. Daniel could demand repayment. He could act fast. He could act loud. He could act now. Walking out of the office, Daniel felt both powerful and empty. Power had never felt like this before. It didn't lift him. It sat heavy, waiting to be used. That night, Daniel stood in his kitchen, holding his phone, staring at a drafted message he hadn't sent. It was clean, factual, polite. No insults. No threats. Just truth. If he sent it, things would change fast. His reflection in the dark window watched him again. He saw anger there, but also doubt. He wasn't just deciding what to do to them. He was deciding who he would be after. He lowered the phone, breathing slow. The wedding was coming closer. Time was running out. And Daniel knew that whatever choice he made next would shape more than just a single day. The morning of the rehearsal arrived too fast. Daniel woke before his alarm, heart already awake, mind sharp and restless. The wedding was 2 days away. Everything had been set. Flowers ordered, guests confirmed, smiles rehearsed, and Daniel stood just outside it all, holding the one thing no one else wanted to talk about, the truth. He dressed carefully, like he was going to a meeting that mattered, because he was. He checked his phone. No messages from Claire. None from his parents. The silence felt planned. They were hoping time would soften him. They were wrong. Daniel drove to the edge of the city where the venue stood. A wide estate. Clean stone walls. Tall windows catching the sun. He parked across the street and stayed in the car. He watched workers carry boxes inside. Chairs lined up in perfect rows. His money was everywhere, shaping a day he was not welcome to see. His phone buzzed. An email reminder from the lawyer. Papers ready. One signature away. Daniel closed his eyes. His thoughts moved fast now. He imagined walking inside, calm and firm, handing over documents, stopping everything. He imagined the panic, the calls, the sudden fear in voices that had dismissed him so easily. He imagined Claire realizing too late that he was not as easy to erase as she thought. The feeling was powerful, almost sweet. But then another image followed, not of them, but of himself, standing alone after the noise faded, knowing he had won, but at a cost that would not show up on paper. Family lines broken, words said that could never be taken back, a future filled with silence instead of distance. Daniel opened his eyes and stepped out of the car. He didn't go inside. Instead, he walked around the property, slow and steady. He watched the place from every angle. He noticed the cracks in the stone, the rushed paint on the doors, the workers moving too fast. The wedding looked strong from far away, but up close it felt fragile. One push could break it. That knowledge scared him more than it thrilled him. His phone rang. "Claire, where are you?" she asked, breath tight. "Out," Daniel said. "Are you near the venue?" she asked. He didn't answer right away. "You can't do this," she said quickly. "Not now, not like this." "Do what?" Daniel asked. "Please," she said. "Everyone is watching." Mark's parents are already nervous. There it was, not regret, not guilt, fear of embarrassment. "You made your choice," Daniel said. "So did you," she replied, "by not letting this go." Daniel stopped walking. He looked at the building again. "You took my money and erased me," he said. "You don't get to ask for peace after that." Claire was quiet. Then her voice softened, but not in the way he hoped. "I didn't think you'd push back," she said. That sentence hit harder than anger. It confirmed everything. He was expected to absorb the damage, to stay silent, to be strong for everyone else. "I won't ruin your wedding," Daniel said. "But I won't disappear either." She didn't respond. The call ended. Daniel sat on a low stone wall and opened his phone. He reread the message he had prepared days ago. Clear. Simple. Honest. No drama. No threats. Just facts. He could send it to the venue. To the families. To everyone. His finger hovered over the screen. A memory surfaced without warning. Claire! As a child, standing behind him when their parents argued, holding his shirt. Trusting him to stay steady. Trusting him not to let the world fall apart. He realized then that revenge wasn't about anger anymore. It was about control. And control, once used, always asked for more. Daniel closed the message. He opened a new one. Addressed it to his lawyer. Short. Direct. He asked for the refund process to begin. Quietly. Legally. No noise. He hit send. The moment passed without sound. No music. No relief rush. Just stillness. Daniel stood and walked back to his car. As he drove away, his phone buzzed again. This time it was his father. "We heard from the lawyer," his father said, voice tight. "This could have been handled privately." Daniel smiled once, without humor. "I tried," he said. "You're hurting your sister," his father said. "She hurt me first," Daniel replied. "I just stopped pretending it didn't matter." Call ended quickly. That night, Daniel sat alone in his apartment. The urge to check social media tugged at him. He resisted. He didn't want updates. He didn't want to imagine the wedding anymore. He wanted to sit with his choice. It didn't feel heroic. It didn't feel cruel. It felt firm. For the first time since the phone call days ago, Daniel slept. He knew the fallout was coming. Conversations, accusations, cold words wrapped in calm voices. But the decision was made. The moment had passed. He had stood at the edge of revenge and stepped sideways. And in that step, he learned something that surprised him. Walking away was harder than striking back. But it was the only choice that let him keep himself intact. The wedding day came and went without Daniel stepping foot near the venue. He woke early, not from stress, but from habit. Sunlight filled the room. The city moved on like nothing special was happening, and in a strange way that comforted him. He made coffee, sat at the table, and let the day arrive without fighting it. Messages came and went. Some from co-workers, a few from friends who knew pieces of the story, none from his family. Daniel didn't chase them. He knew that silence now carried meaning. It was no longer empty. It was chosen. Around noon, his lawyer sent a short update. The refund process had begun. It would take time. But it was moving forward. No chaos. No public mess. Just paperwork and accountability. Daniel read the message twice, then set his phone down. He felt no rush of joy. Just a steady release, like pressure easing from a sealed room. By afternoon, curiosity crept in. He wondered if the ceremony was happening on schedule, if the weather was kind, if Claire smiled the way she used to when she felt seen. He let the thoughts pass without grabbing them. He understood now that some things did not belong to him anymore. That evening his parents called together. Their voices were careful, measured, as if speaking to someone new. "You didn't need to involve lawyers," his mother said. "I needed boundaries," Daniel replied. His father cleared his throat. "You've made things difficult." Daniel looked around his quiet apartment. No shouting, no accusations, just truth spoken cleanly. "I've made things honest," he said. They ended the call without resolution. Daniel felt the distance settle into place. It hurt, but it didn't confuse him. For the first time, he knew exactly where he stood. Days passed. The wedding photos appeared online. Daniel didn't click them. He heard about the event through others. Beautiful venue, smooth ceremony, polite smiles, a perfect surface. Beneath it, tension lived quietly, unseen but real. Daniel sensed it, without needing proof. The refund arrived in stages. Each notification felt less important than the last. When the final amount returned, Daniel closed his laptop and leaned back. He didn't feel victorious. He felt lighter. The money mattered, but the choice mattered more. Claire finally reached out a week later. Not a call. A message. Short and stiff. "I didn't think it would end like this." Daniel read it once. He typed a reply, then erased it. Typed again. Erased again. In the end, he wrote something simple. It didn't have to. He sent it and placed the phone face down. He thought about revenge then, not as an action, but as an idea. He realized it promised relief but delivered chains. Every plan he had imagined would have tied him to that moment forever. Every win would have required another defense, another explanation, another fight. Instead, he had chosen a quieter path, one that didn't impress anyone, one that didn't punish the way anger wanted. But it left him free. Weeks later, Daniel visited a small, Cafe he used to go to with Claire when they were younger. He sat alone, watching people pass by. He didn't feel lonely. He felt present. He felt whole in a way he hadn't before. He understood now that betrayal doesn't always arrive with cruelty. Sometimes it comes wrapped in comfort, justified by stress, hidden behind family words. That made it harder to face, not easier. Daniel had lost something real. Trust, closeness, a version of family he believed in. But he had gained something stronger. Self-respect. One evening his phone rang again. His mother's name appeared. Daniel answered. "We miss you," she said. Daniel closed his eyes. He believed her. He also believed she missed the version of him that made things easy. "I'm here," he said. "But I won't be invisible anymore." There was silence. Then a soft acknowledgement. Not an apology, but not denial either. It was enough for now. When the call ended, Daniel stood by the window as he had so many times before. The city lights flickered on. Life moved forward. So did he. He realized revenge had offered him power, but integrity gave him peace. One burned fast. The other lasted. Daniel didn't know what the future held for his family. Maybe distance. Maybe slow repair. Maybe something new. What he did know was this: he had chosen himself without destroying anyone else. And that choice, quiet and firm, became the ending he could live with.